The role of Alberta's energy industry in the national economy is becoming the defining issue here in Strathcona. Our government is proud of our record. We've worked with the provincial government and industry to ensure that we have the strongest regulations in the Western world. We've increased monitoring of the Athabasca River, and industry's paying for that. We're dealing with global warming by reducing our greenhouse gas emissions. We've done the equivalent of taking 1 million cars off the road, and we have some of the strictest vehicle emission standards. What's important is to make sure that the resource is protected and that the environment is protected as well. The oil sands are producing jobs, not only here in Strathcona, but throughout the country, and it's very important to the national economy. The opposition coalition wants to shut down the oil sands. They've talked about a moratorium on new development. They want to block overseas oil exports, and they want to impose an unfair cap-and-trade regime that would impose heavy carbon taxes on Alberta industry. There's too much at stake for jobs here in Strathcona to allow this to happen.
Well, the previous Liberal government has always cared very much about the oil sands. It has always cared about Alberta's economy. During the 90s, during economic depression in Alberta, the Chrétien government brought in oil subsidies to stimulate the economy, and it's in a very dark time. And the future Liberal government would ensure the sustainability of the oil sands, get it as clean as possible, and ensure that in the long run, Alberta's economy is not dependent on a finite resource.
Well, I have a slightly different perspective on this. I think that the challenge for Canada and for Alberta is not necessarily the sustainability of the oil sands. The oil sands is an important piece of our energy sector, and certainly a big piece of the pie for Alberta, a big revenue generator for Canada. What we have to be important is that we have a sustainable clean energy strategy for Canada. The federal government, the Harper government, have done nothing in that direction. They signed on to a US-Canada clean energy strategy promising to reach out Canadians. They have not. And so I sponsored a dialogue at the University of Alberta with the School of Business and also a public forum. And what I'm hearing resoundingly from my constituents and frankly from across Canada is we want to begin shifting our investment towards cleaner energy sources. We want to make sure that if the oil sands is continue being developed, we don't want to hurt its competitiveness for export by having not safe environmental standards. So our approach is we've listened to the 6 or 7 scientific reviews. Both levels of government, both orders of government, federal, provincial, have promised they'll have better assessment, better monitoring, better enforcement. And that, in fact, will clean up the oil sands and make it more viable. But frankly, what we would like to do is to take those subsidies, unnecessary subsidies. Stephen Harper actually promised at the G20 20 years ago that he would remove the fossil fuel subsidies. We're saying we don't need those for the oil sands anymore. It's a well-established industry. Put those instead into renewable energy, into energy efficiency.
The oil sands have undeniably been a poorly managed resource in Alberta. There's issues of water contamination, Aboriginal rights, uncontrolled growth in greenhouse gas emissions, and environmental monitoring. And these issues all need to be addressed. But the oil sands don't get a special place in the eyes of the Green Party. The Green Party would put an equal carbon tax on all fossil fuel industries, and this would coincide with a shift towards a renewable energy-based economy and society that would help avoid the worst effects of climate change and employ hundreds of thousands of Canadians. This shift won't happen overnight, but it will create an energy secure Canada, a safe Canada, and a sustainably prosperous Canada. So let's be bold, let's be aggressive, and let's take control of our energy future and make the transition to a renewable energy economy.